Hi everyone, welcome back to another edition of the Velvet Lounge Life. So yes, I am in one of our rooms in our house, and you can see it is dark outside. It's relatively late. What else is new? I'm always like going from the moment I get up until the moment I'm like, enough is enough is enough. And yes, that is my button table that I display my charm strings on behind me. See? And so what I wanted to talk about today is, a relatively serious subject, and that is what it is like to be the wife of a level 1 essential employee. What that means is if we have a war, if there's a zombie apocalypse, if suddenly lava just started to flow for no apparent reason, if there was oh my God, an epidemic, my husband must still report for duty, which he always will, and he always would, as long as obviously he doesn't have a medical situation himself. So my thing is, that's what we signed up for. Nothing wrong with that. You just have to know what you're getting into, and both of you have to agree to commit to it. And I always think that it's a great idea to have an ending date to it. If you are, always wishing it would end, that's probably not a good thing. You should, already have determined, before the position was accepted, what's your plan? How many years do you think you'll do this? What are the benefits of doing it, this many years versus that many years? And those are things that, plus other things, those are all, some of the tiny little things that you should consider, the basics. And my husband, could have retired at 20 years, but we both totally thought that we wanted to go to 25. And after he was getting close to 25, he told me he wanted to go until 30. And I was like, whoa, I was like, 30, really? And he gave me all of the reasons and the whys and the benefits and this and that and whatever. And at the end of the day, honestly, it's his choice in this particular subject, with that subject. And, after 30, his dream job, he said, would be working at like Lowe's or a Kelly Fredette or something like that. And I was like, really? It's like, okay, but whatever. You put in the time, you got the education, and you also did the work. So who am I, to say anything differently? And it's not like he's saying, after that, I want to go bungee jumping and skydiving, like some crazy sports that, first of all, he would never do. He just wouldn't do those. But so, yes, he is working during this epidemic, and we have no issues with that. He actually wants to do the work. The only thing that we are having an issue with is the level of safety is incredibly low. They work in a in a maximum security hospital. So, if you can imagine the words maximum and security, what does that mean? Watch the news, watch some of the worst crimes you could possibly you can think of, let alone, watch Law and Order and look at some of the things that have happened there in the craziest of most insane episodes and multiply it times 10, and those are the patients, pretty much. And in working in, a place like that, safety should be number one for the staff, as well as the patients, but the staff as well. And without the staff, what do you do? What do you do? So my husband, had spoken to his supervisor, who reports to a CEO, and made them aware that based upon what his doctors said, he should be wearing a face mask. So this all started with a mask. And the things that they were doing before that were the following. And there may have been a couple teeny tiny, barely meaningful things they were doing that I might miss. One is they were asking the staff a few questions before they entered the facility. They were not taking their temperatures until the day before yesterday, and today is the 30th. Next is they always have gloves, they always have hand sanitizers, but suddenly the hand sanitizer and the gloves, were being rationed, I guess I'll say. And remember, they work with patients, so there should be no rationing. Obviously, I don't know if they were even having visitors for these folks, hopefully not. But knowing them, anything is possible based upon when I tell you what the CEO said when my husband asked this question. And that was it. So, and right now, the other thing that they implemented is they cannot go through a certain unit, because guess what? When you're not following the directions of the Center for Disease Control, which is a CDC here in the United States, if you're not following the protocol of hospitals, then you are going to have a nightmare occur. And that's exactly what happened. They had an outbreak at his facility. And the danger with that is no one was properly attired. None of them were allowed the proper personal protection equipment to do their jobs safely. And even when my husband asked and he didn't ask, he told them about needing to wear a mask. And his supervisor could not give him an answer and had to wait to talk to the CEO. At the end of my husband's shift, he still hadn't talked to her. Before my husband left, he's like, did you hear anything? No, I haven't heard anything because I didn't ask yet. Let's go over and ask her, because the CEO is her. They go over, they ask. My husband's left outside of the office while the two of them go in there and discuss his situation. And then the guy comes out that he reports to and tells him that he cannot wear a mask based upon what she said because it might scare the patients. Okay, would death scare the patients more, or becoming drastically ill, or having their lungs, for example, permanently damaged if they become filled with fluid? Apparently, she needs more education on what she should be doing, because what happened afterwards, or maybe even right before my husband asked, I have to look at the dates. I think they may have known that they had an outbreak. And even right now today, other than telling them not to walk through a certain part of the building, even though the climate control in the building is circulating the air and recycling it over and over again, that's the only thing that's changed. And like I said, they just started taking temperatures. They should have been taking temperatures a while ago, just like every other medical, even like senior homes, other type of lockdown facilities, 24-hour treatment clinics. Like there's so many different places where even doctor's offices, you walk in and they want to take your temperature before letting you enter because you might be infected and not even know it. And having a temperature is one of their quick ways of knowing if you are potentially that ill at that moment. You could have the virus right now and not even know it and be passing it on to people. So what happens is these folks are doing the jobs that a lot of us would never want to do because we wouldn't want to work with a certain population. It's horrible to say, but I'm truthful. And, they're then going home to their families. They're, potentially having to go pick up the groceries at the store, not unnecessarily hoarding. And now you have a recipe for disaster because someone doesn't know how to make sure their employees have the tools they need to do their jobs. It's so ridiculous that obviously if there's an outbreak, anyone that was around that person that, is infected, and they have several people now that are infected, those people have to be quarantined. So that means they can't do their jobs. So what does that mean? The other staff that's there, because you are a level 1 essential, you have to fill in where you can by working multiple shifts or parts of other shifts or whatever it is that's needed, because you're in a 24-hour maximum security situation. You would not want these people out in public probably ever. And some of them, yeah, they are going to get released after 20, 30 years or whatever it is. But right now, no, you would not want them, walking around the streets, especially during a pandemic. And so it is really disappointing that it had to get to this point. And as a level 1 spouse, you just are always concerned, like, do I have this virus now? Does he have the virus? If we go to the doctor's office or if we go to the grocery store or pharmacy, because we only should be going to necessary essential places. If we go to pump gas, are we potentially infecting other people? We don't know. We haven't been tested. It's probably one of the next things on our list is to be tested. We have to talk to someone over the next couple of days or so, and we will be doing it by telephone, of course, because we don't know what to do. So that's one of the things about being a spouse of someone in a position like that, is when they are not given the basic tools to do their jobs, such as a mask when they're dealing with patients, not having enough room to be 6 feet apart. It's almost impossible based upon the type of job that you're doing. Also, they should have some sort of covering over their clothing, because you're rubbing and touching against, things, whether it's a wall or whether it's, I don't know, whatever, a sink, it could be a person, a bed, it could be whatever, or a desk or chair. I could go on. And then you could potentially be carrying this stuff literally on you. So at home, our protocol is we have a couple stations. My husband will only enter and exit through those doors. We have like 4 different ways into this house, but we set up 2 different stations, so he only uses 2 entrance exits. And there we have Lysol wipes, we have like all the little safety things you need to clean up, gloves so that, he can get to the laundry room, take off his clothing, throw it right into the washing machine, and hit the showers. He's using 1 shower in this house versus whichever shower is free. And he, even in that room, which is the size of probably someone's dining room, our bathroom is very large. He is, he has certain, of course he has his own sink in there anyway, but even in there we set up like everything is separate. He sleeps on 1 floor of the house. I sleep on a totally separate floor of the house. Sometimes we have to meet in the middle on the floor that has the kitchen, the pantry, the laundry room, obviously the exits out of the house. But, so it's like you're living together, but you're apart. The only positive for us is the fact that he works 3rd shift. So I should be sleeping right now. And when he comes home in the morning, he should be prepping so that he can go to sleep. And, so he can go to work that evening. So we're sort of like 2 shifts that pass in the night. But now we pass even less in the night because he's been continuously working, obviously, because they're short-staffed due to people had to be quarantined, people are infected with a virus. And also there are people who are just not showing up because they have a fear, which I understand. And they wouldn't have had that fear if the powers that be there did their job. And telling someone you can't wear a mask because you might scare the patient is not doing your job at all. And not having, these folks' temperatures taken until a couple days ago because you wanted the high-tech laser temperature takers. Okay, thermometers, not doing your job, especially when there were other ways, in other lesser high-tech ways of having a temperature taken. And so now what they have is an outbreak on that at that facility. And even in the news, you know what? The news is disappointing. The only news we watch is NPR because they tell it like it is. And they also aren't afraid to do their jobs. They will tell you the hard stories with the hard facts. And I'm not saying other news stations aren't telling you the facts, but what they'll do is they'll be afraid that they'll never get an interview by someone. So because of that, they might not even air a particular story. Like the story about what's happening at that facility should be one of the larger stories in this state. And I can tell that it's being slightly, if not more so, buried. And the other thing is, being a level 1 spouse is you expect to, have accurate, timely information to follow. And when you don't know, you don't know. And when you reach out and you try to get help, or at least make folks aware of what's happening, and nothing different happens, but more people keep getting sick, it is really disappointing. And that virus better not enter my husband. It better not enter our household. We better not infect anybody that we know if we do get it. I'm telling you, we better not get sick because we're already unhappy. You do not want to deal with the wrath of me. And when my husband gets to that point, first of all, he's super cute. But the other thing is I love it because his level can be even slightly higher than mine, which I didn't even think was possible. So, all you can do as a level 1 spouse is, prepare for the worst. I hate to say it. Prepare. We're prepared as if we are going to get this thing. We're prepared as if it is going to happen. And if it does, we're going to do everything in our power to fight it because we're fighters. And here at our home, we know that we've done everything we can to be safe. We are minimizing any contact to almost having zero contact with other individuals unless we absolutely have to. Like, for example, today I had to go out to the grocery and I had a mask on, I had gloves on, and hand sanitizer is always in our vehicles. This time I added a can of Lysol as well. And, I haven't been out in a while. I actually missed my last couple of classes I was taking I was taking at a theater because of this outbreak. And as someone who is a survivor of H1N1 with a pneumonia complication, my lungs were almost 70% full of fluid. And if I had gone home and went to sleep that evening, the doctors said I would not be alive. And so I know how horrendously horrible it can be. And you need to have people who care more, who give a damn, people who employ you, strangers out in public coughing and sneezing out in the open like a bunch of idiots. We've seen that a couple times. My sister calls me all the time because she works for a gas company, and obviously they have to keep the heat on. It's still New England, and it was really cold today. That's why I have this hat on, and I have my neck covered up. I came in not long ago before I did this video, and even though it's late, yes. Because that's the other thing, is if you have to go to the grocery store, try to go at a time when you think there are the least number of people there. Everyone's there in the daytime. Try to go after dinner time, because most of them will be at home eating dinner versus being in the store touching everything. So yeah, as a person in this position, do you worry? Of course, unless you are an absolute stone and just don't really care about anything or anyone or even yourself, you should, you do worry. Does it, keep me from getting a full night's sleep? Absolutely, especially more so after the outbreak that happened, especially when my husband was being proactive, as they should have been, and they should have been following the instructions of the Centers for Disease Control, the CDC, as I said, here in the USA. For medical facilities, it's written right there in black and white, super easy and basic reading. And so the other thing that you have to do, I hate to say this, is prepare yourself. And I'm not saying prepare yourself for someone to die, but I am saying prepare yourself just in case someone gets sick. So not only does that, because you could get this virus and get something like a bad flu. If you get that, blessings, because hopefully and almost definitely, if you're healthy enough, you should survive. But right now, if you try to go out to the stores to buy cold and flu medicine, it might be hard to find it. So you might, if you can find it now, you might want to get like 1 or 2 packages. Please do not buy 10 or 20 packages. It's stupid. And whatever else you would normally have if you had a real, like, do you like, what is it? Soup, you might want to get that, whatever will, and some Gatorade, Powerade, whatever will, that you would need normally if we were not dealing with this particular strain of virus. And also the other thing that, I don't appreciate is there are a lot of people who are out on the front lines every single day, because if they aren't out there, garbage will pile up, mail doesn't get delivered and other packages, farmers, don't have the workers in those fields. And I'm not talking about the corporate farm owners. I'm talking about the people who actually pick and process the food so we have something to eat, whether it be poultry, beef, pork, corn, beans, potatoes, whatever all of that is. There are people behind every product that keeps us alive. And I'm talking about the necessary, mandatory stuff, not, the excessive makeup or the crazy, unnecessary crap that you're doing, product reviews on. I'm talking about food, heat. We need the mail because you still have to pay bills, and you still need to know what, you don't know what's in the mail. You still want to know what's there. And even if you have stuff that's online, what about your 80-year-old grandmother? She may not be receiving all of her bills and things electronically, nor probably should she want to with all the hacking that's going on. And so there's a whole list. Believe me, I am missing thousands of positions, prison guards, security guards. These people get no credit, but, people who are in the obvious positions, because, hello, humans can only think of the obvious thing that's in front of them. They're not thinking about the folks that are keeping them safe or keeping them healthy behind the scenes, like the pharmacist. That still imagine a pharmacist. They have to sit there and definitely deal with sick people. There's a reason they're there to pick up a prescription. Whether you go to the window or go inside, doesn't matter. They still have to deal with these people. And, hopefully they're protected. And like I said, the list could go on and on. The forensic people, forensic treatment specialists, the people that work for the police department that are doing all the behind the scenes stuff, the folks, oh my God, dealing with the bodies through, the funeral industry, stuff like that. The coroner's offices might have some bodies they have to deal with that are contaminated. The list goes on and on and on and on. The grave diggers, I mean, it just goes on and on. And I think that more attention needs to be paid to a wider range of people. No, a politician can't sit there and list every single individual. It would, or not every individual, but every position. It would take hours. But change it up a little bit. There are a lot of people who are important to keeping things moving. And I can tell you right now, you saw the Insta shoppers that do that, like shopping for you, and they go to the grocery store and they're on strike. The Uber drivers and other folks that are like ready to strike because they don't have safety standards, and these people are never mentioned ever. As a matter of fact, I feel as if sometimes their stories are getting buried because folks don't want to bring to attention the fact that these folks are also in the first line of fire and in danger as well. And they should have the basic tools to do their job safely. None of them are asking for complete hazmat suits or what a surgeon would wear or a nurse in an ICU would wear. But, having the basic safety things to cover your clothes, cover your face, your hands, they should be allowed to have these things. If they're dealing with a patient that can't come to the door or a customer and they have to go into their house, like, they're doing it. You know why? Because those are heroes. That's why. And hopefully everyone out there thinks about those people a little bit more. One of the things that I've been doing is for Easter, I have a billion Easter cards. So I've been like filling those in with little messages, and those will be sent to some of the retirement homes in the area. You could do some small things just to say thank you, just to say that we know that you're there, you're not invisible, you're not forgotten, we're not taking for granted what you do. Give them a shout out on Facebook. One of the things my husband and I are doing is every evening or every day, we will put a post out thanking people who are definitely heroes and heroines who are not being recognized. So any small thing helps, and we just, are disappointed in the fact that although there's an outbreak at his facility, not only are these people not being thanked for doing their duties, they're also not being thanked for taking a risk with their life every day and going in unprotected. So as a spouse, the other thing that you can do is, of course, help your spouse along as much as humanly possible. Make it easy as possible. Make sure they're getting enough rest. They're getting the appropriate nutrients. Now is not a time to junk food it up or, start eating pizza every day. You should be being as nutritional as you can be. Also, getting some sort of exercise. If you're, we have a decent sized property, so we can walk around it a million times if we want to. We have woods out there that we can hike through with our dog or without the dog. If you can't really leave where you are, and also if you go to we're avoiding parks because everyone's at the park all of a sudden. On a normal day, you couldn't find these people at the park. Suddenly now they all want to congregate at these wooded, tick-filled parks because we live out in the woods, sort of, where we live. So, there are roads, country roads with no sidewalks, but take a chance. Hopefully you don't get hit by a car. You can take a walk, but, you just want to help them stay up to where they need to be energy-wise and as healthy as they can be. And of course, I think the other part that's important is don't just talk about this subject of the virus. I think you do need to talk about it, but don't make it the underscoring topic of every single conversation. You could talk about other things, come up with something, a television